I had a bit of imposter syndrome when I was teeter-tottering between whether I wanted to do it or not. I was like, do people actually want for me to do their bookkeeping and taxes, right? And just because I had 2 clients on the side for bookkeeping, that means I need to get 10 or 15 or 20 to essentially cover my salary. And will people want to work with somebody with not much experience, right? And I think a lot of bookkeepers will often feel that same way when they're starting their journey, which is, well, I don't really know if I can get clients.
You're listening to The Successful Bookkeeper with your host, Michael Palmer. Listen each week as inspiring guests share their secrets of success to help you increase your confidence, work smarter, and build a business you love. This episode of The Successful Bookkeeper is brought to you by PureBookkeeping.com, the proven system to grow your bookkeeping business.
Welcome back to the Successful Bookkeeper podcast. I'm your host, Michael Palmer, and we have a 2-part special series with bookkeeping business owner Andrew Seguin of Seguin Financial. In part 1, he will share his journey from leaving a comfortable job to becoming an entrepreneur and how he overcame initial fears and challenges. Plus, he'll discuss his unique approach to building relationships with clients and his marketing strategies. Let's get to that conversation now. Our guest is the founder of a cloud-based bookkeeping and tax firm located in Cornwall, Ontario, Canada, called Seguin Financial. Andrew Seguin, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Michael, for having me.
It's wonderful to have you. And I'm excited. This is an interesting episode, as I said, because one of our previous podcast guests listened to you at an event recently and right away reached out to our podcast producer, Dave, and said, this person has got to be on the show. And so here you are, Andrew. Welcome. And so for our listeners that don't know you yet and soon will, please tell us about your career journey leading up to this point and how you came to be doing what you're doing.
Yeah, this is awesome, Michael. I recently attended the CPP Ignite conference in Toronto about 2 weeks ago. I love those types of conferences, getting to see all my colleagues and friends in person. So it's always a pleasure. And I was fortunate enough to start off the week. I was one of the first presenters that week, and my session was how to grow your bookkeeping business. And what a fascinating topic, right? Isn't it? So I started my journey. So, growing up, I was really comfortable with numbers and dollars and working with money. Like I remember counting change, a big coin jar for my dad on a monthly basis, and like organizing the dimes and nickels and such. And I think growing up, I kind of knew I wanted to go somewhere in that industry with numbers and dollars. And finishing up high school, accounting made sense. So I did my 3-year college diploma in accounting. And then I got a job working in a nonprofit sector, so specifically healthcare. And in Ontario, it's typically government funded. So it was a nonprofit, your typical nonprofit where there was strict budgets. But I was 1 day a week. So I was 1 day a week doing accounts payable. And over a few years, specifically 5 years, I worked my way up, doing a lot of different things as you would in a nonprofit, wearing a lot of hats as you would as a business owner. So payroll, I was helping with budgeting. I was doing typical finance stuff. I was doing HR. I was doing health and safety. I was doing IT. So kind of a jack of all trades over those 5 years. And I worked my way up to a full-time position. But during that same time, I had 2 very small bookkeeping clients on the side that I was doing work with. And I was doing some tax returns on an annual basis for some very close friends and family, maybe 20 or 30 tax returns a year. So maybe around $3,000 a year at most, like if I was lucky. And I was loving my job. I really, really enjoyed it. I got to learn a lot of things. I was really passionate about what I was doing. We were a team of 30 around at the nonprofit. And one of my favorite things was helping others. I really liked kind of dropping whatever I was working on to make sure that my team was really comfortable. And, whether it's like having an issue with a printer, or needing help with building a graph, there was a lot of different things I would do in a day-to-day basis, but I really enjoyed that. I really, really enjoyed helping others. And those 2 bookkeeping clients I mentioned were also pretty close friends of mine at the time. And, with the support of my spouse and those 2 clients, they really nudged me in the right direction to, start a business. And it was really scary for me. I was in a very comfortable salary position. I had 5 weeks vacation, I had a really good pension, I had a really good benefit package, and I really enjoyed my job. But I think the problem I was running into was, as you would in a nonprofit, sometimes there's heavy ceilings of like what you can do financially for yourself. There's very strict salary scales and structures, and my superior, my boss at the time, wasn't leaving for a long time potentially. So there wasn't much room for growth on my end. So with the loving support of my friends and colleagues and my spouse, I quit my full-time job. I rented a little 12 by 12 office in downtown Cornwall, Ontario, and started the business. I had a very, very slight structure of a business plan in place. But in reality, I kind of just winged it. And that was an amazing experience, a very scary experience. But at the end of the day, over the last 5.5 years, so I'm coming up my 6-year mark in January, I learned a lot, and I'm really excited to dive into those things later today. So
yeah, what a story, and an interesting one, not uncommon from many other bookkeepers that we've had on the show. Starts innocently, and then the friends say, go do it. You can make more money, have more freedom,
always
have
those
more
friends,
fun.
pesky little friends.
The good ones, the good friends, right?
The good ones, of course.
The ones that aren't so concerned about your safety and well-being, right?
Yeah, exactly.
They're willing to let you take risks.
And those are the great people you want around, right? Like I was, it's interesting enough, those 2 colleagues and clients, one was a web developer and one was like a marketing guru. So I got super fortunate to be surrounded with people that helped me build a logo, build a business name, build a website from the get-go. And they really believed in me. And that just gave me the confidence to like believe in myself. Because I remember a very specific instance where I was at dinner with them, and in my mind, I was walking in that dinner to tell them the unfortunate news that I wasn't going to be starting this business, and I was going to break their little hearts. But they convinced me by the end of dinner to actually go ahead and do it. So
wow.
it's funny how those people, I was so close to telling them that I wasn't going to do it, and then 2-3 hours later, I was doing a 180, and I was like, actually, okay, I'll do it.
So tell me about that. What had you having second guesses or second thoughts, I guess is how they say that.
Yeah, I think they were business owners themselves. And, it sounded so exciting to set your own path, be an entrepreneur, establishing your own journey as an individual. And I think I had a bit of imposter syndrome when I was teeter-tottering between whether I wanted to do it or not. I was like, do people actually want for me to do their bookkeeping and taxes, right? And just because I had 2 clients on the side for bookkeeping, that means I need to get 10 or 15 or 20 to essentially cover my salary. And will people want to work with somebody with not much experience, right? And I think a lot of bookkeepers will often feel that same way when they're starting their journey, which is, well, I don't really know if I can get clients. And I totally relate with that, that sort of imposter syndrome. But I think as long as you have a capability of wanting to learn and having a good support team, whether it's friends or family or clients that can actually elevate you, I think the way it came down for me is it just sort of happened naturally, where you sort of start believing yourself every week that goes on, and you start learning something new, and you get that feeling of, okay, I can for sure do this. And that sort of, momentum starts building week by week. And by, month 3, month 6, you're like, all right, I'm nailing it. This is actually going to work.
Very cool.
We'll get back to the interview right after this word from our sponsor.
Accountants and bookkeepers trust Payworks to get it right. Why? Well, the math just adds up. Friendly, expert-level service, plus a surprisingly affordable Canadian-built payroll platform equals reliable results and a strong foundation for success. You can count on Payworks the way your clients count on you. In fact, more than 98% of clients who choose Payworks choose to stay. There are plenty more reasons why Payworks is right for you. Visit payworks.ca today.
Thank you for hearing from our sponsor. Now let's get back to the interview.
So you went to dinner, you were turned around, you second thoughts averted, and you started your business. What were some of the quick breakaways, but also share, what were some walls that you hit, maybe setbacks?
Yeah. So when I started my business, it was in the pre-COVID era. And I think I initially had this instinct because Cornwall has a population of about 47,000 and very much, you kind of know a lot of people in the area. And I didn't. I had my friends and my family, but I didn't know any other business owners. So I decided to rent a small little office space, which I thought it was a good idea. And even today, I think it was the right move. Like if I had to do it again, I probably would. And I think the reason why is there was a period of time where, virtual meetings worked very, very well. And they still do. We still do a lot of virtual meetings. But for some clients, they do miss and want that physical sort of connection relationship. And even though we might not see those clients in our local area often in person, we still see them, maybe once a year to have that sort of establishment, that connection. So I think, a lot of bookkeepers try to think about, well, I'm just going to work from home all the time. And that can totally work. It might slowly stunt your growth, I think, is having maybe a spot, whether it's a coffee shop or a restaurant or a safe space that you can maybe meet with local clients in your area to kind of jumpstart your career, your entrepreneurship. I think that, in my opinion, helps a lot. And then one thing I wish I had, a better guidance structure in the beginning was really try to establish your processes from the get-go. Mm-hmm. So I kind of went in and be like, I'll just figure things out as I go. And I do enjoy that. I actually enjoy personally making mistakes, tweaking, fine-tuning, and kind of figuring out what makes sense. But that's not always ideal when you're working with finances and bookkeeping with clients, right? So I think one thing I try to tell, aspiring bookkeepers who want to start their own businesses, try to have, maybe if you can, some specific processes in place. And as there are some, the pure booking system. There's a lot of really amazing systems out there that can really help you establish the foundation to kind of grow your business. And in retrospect, if I had to do a do-over, I would have it, invested into systems in place from the get-go, because I spent a lot of time, a lot of evenings and weekends fine-tuning those processes at the firm. And we're pretty comfortable where we're at now. But in those first 2 or 3 years, especially during the hiring phase, that's where, I spent a lot of time where I probably didn't need to if I just thought about processes a little bit more on the foundation side of things.
That's right. And by the sounds of it, it's one of your things that you're good at, and it's one of the things that you enjoy and like doing. And that there is rare. And so not only were you good at it, you liked it, you did all the work, took you a couple of years to do it, but you're absolutely right. And when you get those in place, your business is certainly going to be a little bit easier. I'd love to know some of systems, having systems in place. We talk about it often on the podcast. Other setbacks that, and maybe before we go there, I want to jump back to the office space, because that was an interesting one. And so for you, it was a win. Some people, maybe it wouldn't be, but I can really see that. And I've heard lots of people along the way, even renting an office, just an office just a door, right? I guess you'd call it just a door with a small little office in another business. There's energy there. There's things going on. There's people to meet. It's a physical thing. It gives it meaning. It gives it structure. It's tactile, which for some people can be really good. But if you open the doors and you got that office and you just sit in there all day and you never leave it, maybe just stay at home.
Yep.
Right. But
Yep. You're right.
I like
You're absolutely right.
I like that though. And it comes back to what you said, have good people around you that you can trust, that are going to help propel you, lift you up, hold you maybe accountable, keep you moving. If you are sitting in the office and you're not out there reaching out for customers or doing what you need to do to get customers or work on your processes or what, someone who might help you to say, hey, well, how's that going? Right.
Yep. Yeah. And I think, not only are there potentially other businesses in that building you're potentially working out of, I would say that's what happened with me. And there was a few other businesses. So you get to meet and interact and socialize in a different way. Cause I was only comfortable at the time. Like I had really bad anxiety just calling clients on the phone potentially on the first 6 months. So I had to really learn and develop those skill sets I didn't have when I started, when I was working at the nonprofit, because I was only talking to people at the job that I knew was comfortable with. So having to talk to prospective clients and try to pitch them or sell them was something brand new to me. So be able to have sort of, water cooler talk essentially in that commercial building was something new to me with people I didn't really know. And that did help develop some additional skill sets for me, I think. And it's just nice in this day and age to have a separation for some people to your home is your home and your office is your office. Some people thrive working from home. I do. I love working from home. I love waking up, making a coffee and just, starting my day. But I don't have any kids. So for me, it's different where, if you have any kids or multiple people, multiple people at the home is working from home, that become sometimes difficult. So sometimes having a separation between home and work can be beneficial for some people. And I would say, don't be afraid to lean into that. Yes, it's an added cost to your business starting off, but hopefully in the first 6 months, those costs will reap benefits.
Absolutely, and it's something to actually hold you, like you need to perform in order to cover those costs, right? So it's something that's going to pull you forward. It's like the old saying, burn the bridge, so that you have no other option. It does put you into that situation. Now, again, we can talk about the pros and cons of that. Because if you can't afford it, and it's bad stress or negative stress, we're talking about positive stress. This is like, I'm committed 100%. I'm going to get this office, I'm going to make things move and make it happen. Then that can be very beneficial. Now, you talked about system setbacks, breakaways, early days. What else?
Yeah, I think, I was really adamant on trying to get to know the most amount of people I could in my community. And whether that was, talking to the Chamber of Commerce, whether it was talking to government agencies in my area who do small business loans for startups. I really, really wanted to meet and talk to the most amount of people that I could essentially build a partnership with. When I started the business, I was fortunate enough to know that I was going to be doing something very unique in my area. So, we had your traditional mid-sized firms in Canada here. So your BDOs, your M&Ps, your Welches, and then there were independent bookkeepers, but they were all on desktop solutions. So I knew when I started my firm, day one, I was going to go cloud. I was going to go 100% cloud. I was going to sort of take my love for technology and really leverage that to the best of my capabilities. And that was an easy marketing tool for me. And it was an easy sell when I was talking to prospective clients. We provided something unique. And our industry is in such a huge demand. And no matter what, we can have a whole conversation about AI, but bookkeepers in general that can really understand a client's business's financial health will never go away. It just won't. It's business owners don't want to know about this stuff, and they don't even know the questions to ask. So if we're providing that type of value, our industry will never go away. And I honestly think it's going to flourish in the next 5 years. And I'm really excited to see that. But for me, I knew from day one what type of firm we wanted to be. I wanted to be personable and I wanted to be cloud-based. So when I say personable, I mean in my conference seminar I did 2 weeks ago, I talked about how I talk to my clients the same way I talk to my friends and family. I don't have a different type of, I don't flip a personality, and I don't have this professional demeanor when I'm talking to clients. Obviously, if the conversation warrants it, then yes, I will. But I will laugh with them. I will swear with them. I will, tease them. And at the end of the day, they don't have a different type of bookkeeper they deal with versus Andrew and Andrew the owner, Andrew the bookkeeper, and Andrew the colleague. It's like, it's the same person. And it was easier for me because I really I feel like a lot of energy, I'm definitely an extrovert when it comes to socialization in pockets of time, but I try to provide that energy as much as I can with my clients. And I think they appreciate that, right? It's like they're sometimes so stressed out walking to your office or having a meeting because it's, the old dread, I'm talking to my accountant or talking to my bookkeeper today. It's like this negative connotation related to it. And I wanted to sort of change that demeanor. And I did that by just being myself and just sort of being my goofy, quirky, but still honest self.
Very cool. I love that. Love how you've brought, like two things there. You said it really well. Financial health of a business is always going to be important. How we do that is going to change over time, which everything changes. But you're absolutely right. Being a human being, like you're being with your clients, you can't. AI isn't going to do that at this point.
Never.
And so I love that swing that you bring to your clients and the energy and being a personal. And that sets you apart. And it's a lot easier probably every day to just be yourself, right? You're not putting, you don't have to acting, put on an act. I forget who it says, if you tell the truth, you never have to forget it. You have to remember anything.
You're right.
It's pretty easy.
Right. You're right.
Life's very, very easy when you just tell the truth, be yourself. Okay. So we got a little bit of the startup story here, which I love. And I want to step back because you mentioned it, the marketing. I love the marketing piece. I always love the grit and the guerrilla aspects of going out there and finding your customers. Go a little deeper into that. You you built relationships with other people, but yet you were kind of nervous about doing that initially. What changed for you and how did you change it from going to, I'm afraid to talk to people to I'm talking to people and building these relationships with other people?
Yeah, I would say what clicked for me was, two things. One, if it doesn't work out, no harm, no foul. So like this person won't remember me in 2 weeks, let's just say, right? So if I made a mistake in my sort of pitch or I didn't close the deal, that's not a failure to me, right? Initially I was like, in my mind, I was like, I failed, like this sucks. And after a few attempts at doing this, I was like, okay, it's not a failure to me. Use this as an opportunity to grow who I am as a person. But I think that the thing that really clicked in for me was, I am providing something to my clients, prospective clients that, I need to like lean into that. I think I need to stop being afraid of having a conversation and trying to pitch them. Because initially I was like, I'm trying to sell them on something. And then when I realized what switched for me is, wait, they're already in my office or they're already emailing me. They actually want our service. So I sort of had this like mindset where instead of trying to convince them or sell them on our services, what if I try to start thinking about, well, if I already have them in place, how can I lean into the sort of confidence of myself of, well, I know what we can provide to you. And the question is, are you going to be a good client for us? And, to be fair, that took a long time to get really comfortable with that sort of mindset because, you're thinking we're trying to sell our services and, we have to convince this client to be a client. And in reality, our service, our industry, in my opinion, is one of the most, I think, my personal opinion, is one of the most required service for any business owner to do well in. So if you're providing this service that is in such high demand and your skill set is there, you can nail this, believe in yourself. And I think things will just naturally trickle down into that confidence. And it took me, to be fair, some time to get to that confidence level. But when you get that first client, that second client, that third client, I think you get that momentum. And but to be fair, like I said, it took a while to get out of that anxiety. But I think, for me, just not caring the end result. If they say no, then they say no, then I move on to the next one.
I love it. And, it's a great way of framing it. It's like, what will these clients or will this client be a good client for me? I mean, the line of questioning that you would have to ask to determine whether it's the case or not is really a sales conversation, the best one.
Yep.
It's a consultative, what's going on for you, what's working, what's not working, what does your business look like, who are you, how do you transact in the past, what are you looking for? All those great questions, you're collecting data, and who's and they're talking about themselves, which most people like to talk about themselves. So instead of talking, you're asking questions, letting them do the talking. And I love the frame. There's some confidence there. And it's so true. And I agree with you. And I found it myself over the years is when I get to the point of, it's like, how can I even help you? I want to know if I can even help you. So let's figure that out first. And then we'll see if we should work together, right?
Yeah, we'll see if we're a good fit.
Yeah. So now you built some relationships in marketing. What other ways did you go out there and get people to actually know? Like, how did you get them into the office? Because you talked about that. It's like, hey, they're already in the office. How did you get them to know about you?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. I think Facebook at the time helped out a little bit, just posting in our local city like Facebook group. I had a few clients just reach out to me in regards to that. I didn't do any cold calling. So like I don't believe in cold calling, whether cold emails or cold calling. It just, when you're dealing with such sensitive information, often, finances, it's such a, vulnerable conversation with clients. They don't want to just talk to somebody who just randomly emailing them saying, hey, are you looking for bookkeeping services? And I wasn't afraid when I had those two early clients. I asked them, do you have any colleagues or people that would need bookkeeping services? I do believe in regards to asking for work. I think a lot of people feel that it's sort of shameful. It's not. It's like, with good people around you, they will always support you. And what's a good way to support you? By sending more clients your way, right? And seeing that elevation of an individual growing a firm and hiring people in their community and helping other business owners to succeed. So, I really just told those early clients, hey, I'm looking for work. I have capacity. If you know of anybody, please let them know, and I'd be happy to chat with them. I did that. I did free consultations. I think, so essentially a consultation was like just to sit down with them, and I would even answer questions they would have, like, unique specific tax or bookkeeping questions, and I wouldn't charge them for that. And I try to provide some early value in that conversation, regardless if they choose to go with us or not. I sort of put a sort of mental note in their mind. It's like, okay, this guy knows, he's really good to talk to, and he knows what he's sort of doing. Because I didn't know what I was doing, to be fair, at the early stages. I kind of just winged it most of the time. But he seems knowledgeable enough and he's friendly. I'll keep that in mind. And they might not been a client, but they might talk to other people, because business owners, they're in circles, right? They talk to other business owners.
That's right. They like helping solve other people's problems too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that referral sort of process, I lean into that as much as I could. I asked people for Google reviews, Facebook reviews. I asked them, say, hey, if you know anybody who needs their tax returns, they need some bookkeeping done, reach out. And I just asked people to do that. I asked people for reviews, and I asked people to send referrals my way. And there was no commission, like referral commission or anything in place. I don't really believe in that. It's like, it's at the end of the day, I might give them like a nice little Christmas present, like a gift basket, or somebody that's been really good to us. But it's business. We're trying to provide good service to our clients as much as possible. But yeah, so, referrals, I really lean into like asking for
Powerful.
referrals.
Super powerful. And in the successful bookkeeper community portal, there are the 7x5 marketing strategies, which we talk about often, but this is like, we're pulling them right out of here. It's like, ask your friends and your family, right? Ask for, hey,
It goes a long way.
I'm available, because you said it. This industry needs great bookkeepers, period. Like the business owners need them, and many of them haven't had the experience of a great bookkeeper. So when they do, they're going to want more of it. And so ask your family, friends, referrals, fantastic, right?
Do not be afraid. Yeah, do not be afraid. And it's if you think it's uncomfortable, that's okay, but ask anyways. Get comfortable with asking. And your friends and family is not going to not want to do that. Like, they will now keep that in mind the next time they're talking to somebody. Because I've had situations where they're at a grocery store and they're talking, and it's like, oh, I got to give someone my bookkeeper. I hate having to send them all this paper. I want to go paperless. And it's like, oh, actually, I just talked with somebody a few weeks ago who does this. Their name is Andrew. And it's like, conversations will happen naturally without you having to do that.
And they're just, the opportunity to go your way is so often, because there's there's less bookkeepers than the need, right? My favorite story is we do a program called The 7 Secrets of Growing Your Bookkeeping Business. And I used to travel across Canada, the United States, doing this in person. We don't do it in person anymore because of the COVID and all the rest of it. And just it's hard to get around.
I bet.
It's such a big continent. Anyways, I was literally woke up in the morning leading the event in the hotel. There was a little restaurant, and I went into the restaurant having bacon and eggs, and I'm sitting there talking to I think it was a waitress. It was either a waiter or waitress. I can't remember if it was male or female, but I said, oh, it's like, what's going on today? How's business? A cool little restaurant. Love it. Good food. How are things going? So they go on about talking about their business. And I said, what, somehow it swayed to their bookkeeper. And I said, well, what are you doing there? He's like, oh, well, we just lost our bookkeeper. Lead opportunity, right?
Right there.
It's right there in the session. And that's what I'm going in them to talk about. It's just, if you have conversations with people, you ask about them first. What's going on with you? How are you doing? What's your business look like? How do you handle this? And it'll go to the who does your books? It's like, I don't know.
It always does.
That's it's like my accountant does them, or I'm not happy with it, or whatever the case may be. If you're asking about them, instant rapport leads to trust, and then trust leads to actually doing some business together. So I love your story because it's not, oh, I went and, did some miraculous thing and it cost me a whole bunch of money. Anyone can do the marketing and do these things. They can be challenging, but the biggest challenge is just ourselves, right? Getting over the fear, getting over the reluctance to do whatever it is. But again, come back to do it once, then do it again. Don't have to do a bunch, just little bits.
Fine-tune it.
Yes.
Making mistakes is part of the entrepreneur journey, right?
That's
it's
right.
Like, all business owners, whether you're in bookkeeping, you're a mechanic, doesn't matter. It's always about learning from your mistakes. It's like, and you just lean into that. Know from day one, I will make mistakes and I'm going to suck at some things, and I got to lean into that, and I got to just ask for help, or I got to just learn a bit more. And that's okay. That's like part of the entrepreneur journey.
Absolutely.
Great chatting with Andrew. Some terrific insights. In part 2 of our conversation, we'll cover topics like how to build a thriving firm and how to maintain a strong work culture, plus much more. With that, we wrap another episode of the Successful Bookkeeper podcast. To learn more about today's wonderful guest and to get access to all sorts of valuable free business building resources, you can go to thesuccessfulbookkeeper.com. Until next time, goodbye.
You've been listening to The Successful Bookkeeper with Michael Palmer. For more information and to download the resources mentioned in this episode, please visit us at thesuccessfulbookkeeper.com. Thank you for listening.